Hello there, very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News. I'm Tracy Shilji, and in the next 30 minutes I'll be getting you the day's top stories, what to look forward to, day 7 of the demonetization move, and there's still a lot of chaos and confusion outside banks and ATMs as well. The long lines, of course, not ending. We'll keep a check, get in fact a check of how things stand across the country. But first, the headlines. Banks directed to waive off ATM charges on all transactions till December 30th. Parking fees at airports are waived off for a week. Government reiterates, though, that it won't roll back the demonetization move. Opposition parties demand a discussion on demonetization at the all-party meet called by Lok Sabha Speaker. Demand also raised prioritizing discussion on the surgical strikes. Centre calls an all-party meeting today. Centre to reintroduce compulsory class 10th board exams for CBSE schools from next academic year. States to be given the authority to reintroduce class 5 and 8 board exams. And 2016 is to be the hottest year on record. Latest report as UN Climate Summit in Marrakesh looks to evolve consensus on implementing the Paris climate deal. India calls for making a lifestyle of minimum carbon footprint. All right, starting with the issue of demonetization, it has emerged as the most crucial matter on which the opposition is demanding a discussion during the winter session of Parliament that begins on Wednesday tomorrow. At an all-party meeting called by Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan on Monday, opposition parties also demanded discussion on the situation in Jammu and Kashmir and also the cross-LOC surgical strikes, among others. Here's a detailed report.
Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan called an all-party meeting ahead of the beginning of the winter session of Parliament on Wednesday. The issue of demonetization figured prominently during the discussion at the meeting. Apart from that, cross-LOC surgical strikes, situation in Jammu and Kashmir, OROP and the alleged plight of farmers also figured during discussions in the meeting.
जो नोट्स की करेंसी वाला इशू वो थोड़ा सा सबसे ज़्यादा वो चाहते हैं कि वो डिस्कशन में आ जाए. जम्मू कश्मीर का इशू भी डिस्कशन में लेना चाहते हैं और कई सारे इशू, लेकिन एक मामले में बहुत सी पार्टियां एक दिखी कि जो बात आ रही थी कि स्टेट और केंद्र दोनों के चुनाव एक साथ होना चाहिए, विधानसभा और लोकसभा के. इस विषय में भी एक डिबेट की डिमांड आई है, उसमें स्टेट फंडिंग की भी बात आई. ये भी एक इशू आना चाहिए चर्चा में.
Major opposition parties during the meet, which lasted over 3 hours, urged the Lok Sabha Speaker to allow a debate on demonetization on a priority to highlight the difficulties being faced by the public. The issue of holding simultaneous elections to the state assemblies and the Lok Sabha and state funding of polls also emerged as issues on which parties have demanded a discussion.
एक तो demonetization 100 और 500 नोट्स का, उससे कितनी दिक्कत गरीबों को हो गई है, सैलरीड पीपल को, हाउसवाइफ्स को, स्मॉल ट्रेडर्स को, डेली वेज अर्नर्स को, और सारे देश में इसका बहुत बड़ा बुरा असर पड़ा है. इसके लिए इसको चर्चा में लेना जरूरी है.
The Lok Sabha Speaker said 22 to 23 bills are likely to be introduced in the session, which will have 22 sittings. Apart from the Congress, leaders of the BJD, Trinamool Congress, SP, Shiromani Akali Dal, Shiv Sena, LJP, RLSP and BJP were present at the meeting. Following the meet, the Speaker also hosted a dinner which was attended by the Prime Minister. Today, the Centre has called an all-party meeting ahead of the Parliament session. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the ruling NDA Allies, though, hailed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's decision to demonetize high-value notes. During the NDA meeting in New Delhi on Monday, Prime Minister Modi ruled out any rethink as well on rendering the high-value currency notes illegal as the parties prepare to take on the opposition in the winter session of Parliament beginning tomorrow. The Prime Minister told NDA Allies that there was no need to be defensive on the monetization move as there was a widespread support for the move and people are ready to face hardships for larger gains. Information and Broadcasting Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu said that after the meeting that the government's crusades again black money and corruption will be carried to its logical conclusion, and that the NDA allies will take on the opposition parties countering each of their allegations during the session.
In today's BJP Parliamentary Party meeting, as well as NDA leaders meeting, the entire parties and also members have with one voice spoke praising the qualities of the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister with regard to the decision to have surgical strikes. Second, with regard to this historic, bold, revolutionary decision of taking the war against corruption and black money.
हम अपनी पार्टी लोक जनशक्ति पार्टी के तरफ से प्रधानमंत्री जी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहते हैं कि उन्होंने ये साहसिक कदम उठाया है। लोगों की तकलीफें हैं, कुछ समय के लिए है, लेकिन जब कोई नया मकान बनता है तो उसमें धूला उड़ता है, पुराना मकान जब गिरता है तो धूला उड़ता है।
ये निर्णय सही टाइम पे और ऐसा लिया गया कि किसी को पता भी नहीं चला, और यही होना जरूरी था कि जो हो गया इसके बहुत से फायदे भविष्य में भी होने वाले हैं।
जितने भी फैसले उन्होंने किए हैं, जैसे पाकिस्तान को आइसोलेट किया है सारी दुनिया में, और सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक और ये नोट बंद करने का जो फैसला किया है, सबसे पहले हमारे वरिष्ठ नेता सरदार प्रकाश सिंह बादल साहब ने उनका धन्यवाद किया था। आज हमारी पार्टी की तरफ से हमने भी सबसे मिलकर एनडीए के पार्टनर से इन दोनों के लिए प्रधानमंत्री जी का धन्यवाद किया है।
Meanwhile, in yet another move to lessen woes of people facing cash crunch, the RBI on Monday directed banks to waive ATM charges off on all transactions done by savings bank customers till the 30th of December. The waiver will be applicable on transactions done by a customer through his or her own bank ATM as well as those of other banks. The RBI also said that there would be no charges for both financial and non-financial transactions. The waiver is applicable on transactions done at ATMs which started from the 10th of November till the 30th of December 2016. Banks charge up to 20 rupees beyond the permitted 3 mandatory free transactions from other banks of ATMs. And of course, acknowledging the difficulties being faced by the common man due to the demonetization move, the government on Monday also announced steps to ease the situation. The government on Monday said that the car parking will be free at airports across India for a week as it tries to reduce hardship for passengers affected by the sudden withdrawal of the 500 and 1,000 rupee currency notes. The directive would be applicable on both Airports Authority of India as well as privately operated aerodromes. According to an official statement, the Ministry of Civil Aviation has decided to suspend the collection of parking charges as well at all airports till the 21st of November. Now, amid a panic rush in banks and ATMs across the country, the Supreme Court will today hear a batch of PIL seeking the quashing of the government's decision to demonetize the currency notes. A bench comprising Chief Justice T.S. Thakur and Justice D.Y. Chandrachud has listed for hearing as many as 4 pleas against the November 8th decision of the Narendra Modi government. The petitioners have alleged that the sudden decision has created chaos for the public. Also, the Delhi government has called a special session of assembly to discuss the fallout of the centre's decision. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal reiterated his demand that the centre must withdraw the move, also saying that if it was convinced that this was the only way to tackle the problem of black money, it should reintroduce the scheme later with better planning. The Chief Minister is scheduled to meet West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee to discuss the move. All right, more on, of course, the politics of that in a bit. But first, let's take an assessment of the situation across some other cities, apart from Delhi, of course, where we saw those long lines throughout the night as well. Akhilesh Suman joining us from Jaipur, and we also have Panchanan Mishra joining us from Belgaum. Akhilesh, if I could come to you first, give us a sense of how things are in Jaipur, the same that we are seeing across the country, long lines.
Actually, see, yesterday there was Guru Nanak Jayanti in the whole of country, and the whole of Rajasthan banks were closed. Some of the ATMs were open for an hour between 11 and 12, and after that money was absent from the ATMs also. So people were telling that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has told that every day the banks will be open and people will be getting money, but that promise is not being fulfilled. I also went to some of the rural banks where I found that rural bank managers are telling that the cap of 4,000 rupees is not applicable for rural areas. They have been given instruction to just disburse 2,000 rupees per person, and in ATMs it is almost less than rupees 2,000. So in a way, you cannot say that uniformity is being maintained all over the country. And at a place where I am standing now, it is one of the poshest area of Jaipur, and you can see that the ATM has not opened till now. The guard is there, the ATM gate is open, but there is no cash in that. And when I ask people, the people are telling that there has been no cash in this ATM for last 3 days. So you can understand the situation that cash is not available at all the ATMs in the country, and especially in Rajasthan, if you can see that since yesterday there was a holiday, so today no money will be coming to the ATMs before 10 or 11. Yes.
Absolutely. Panchana, if I could come to you, is that the situation we're seeing in Belgaum as well? You know, a lot of celebrities, including the MPs, the politicians, of course, saying this is a very small price, you know, that the Aam Aadmi has to pay for a larger good. But unless you stand in those lines for hours, you really don't know how bad the situation is.
Yes, the same situation is here in North Karnataka. We are here in Belgaum right now. And the real problem is that there is no cash in ATMs. There are several ATMs which are dispensing cash. But the cap of this 4,000 rupees is really a big hardship for the businessman and for local peoples, because it's also a season of marriages also.
That's
so
right.
The peoples here are facing problem which is like a businessman or it's a common man. And if you see the hardship of the businessman here in Belgaum, there is a thok market of this onion and all vegetables. The transactions, all business took place in really cash, but the cash is not available and business is suffering a lot. So there is a lot of hardship, and the problem is that the ATMs are not dispensing money. There are very few ATMs which are dispensing money, and we heard in Belgaum that since last 2 days there was no cash in many of the ATMs. So today it's we will see that there will be cash or not, and 500 rupees is also coming to Bengaluru today.
Yes. All right, we'll leave it there for now. Akhilesh and Panchanan, thanks so much for joining us. We'll come back to you through the day, of course, for more updates from those cities there. The problem that I at least faced was that there was the money in those ATM machines, but the servers were down, so I couldn't get my money anyway, despite standing in that line for over an hour. But that's, of course, a situation which is across the country. And in more news, the government on Monday raised the cash holding limits of banking correspondents to increase liquidity in rural pockets. Banking correspondent is, of course, a representative authorized to offer services by a bank where it does not have a branch. Take a look.
Post-demonetization, the government is trying to reach out to rural India with the help of 1.2 lakh banking correspondents. Cash holding limits of these banking correspondents have been raised to 50,000 rupees per day. Banks also have the flexibility to raise the limit further in appropriate cases. Each banking correspondent can replenish cash multiple times in a week against the previous limit of once in 12 days.
And in cases, and also there is flexibility and freedom available to the banks to increase this limit beyond rupees 50,000 in appropriate cases.
RBI introduced a regulation in 2006 allowing banks to provide service at people's doorstep through the use of third-party services called the banking correspondence model. The banking correspondents charge a commission from the bank to enroll clients, transactions and deposits. While the ruling party exudes confidence that banking correspondents will address cash crunch in the countryside, experts question their efficacy.
Short-term problem which the people, rural areas, people were facing, or people with a low income or people having Jan Dhan account, they could easily approach and get their currency changed.
Black money, जिसको कि हम रोकना चाहते हैं, वो इस सिस्टम के थ्रू वापस आ सकती है, and this can be used as a conduit to bring back the money into the system if deposit and withdrawal both are allowed to be relaxed. सेकंड एक और बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम जो मुझे इसमें साथ दिखती है वो है काउंटरफीट्स की.
India is home to 21% of the world's unbanked adults, as over 25 crore people have no access to banking services. The government now stares at a mammoth challenge of increasing availability of cash in rural pockets through its network of banking correspondents. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
And of course, opposition parties are ready for a coordinated attack on the Modi government's issue of demonetization. The Congress and the TMC have submitted notices in Parliament to try and corner the government on the move. Both parties also met on Monday to jointly plan a strategy to tackle the issue in Parliament. They've also reached out to other political parties on the issue. And Congress and other opposition parties will hold a strategy meeting today as well to deliberate on their strategy.
Putting up a united front, opposition parties intensified their attack on the government on Monday against the demonetization move. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee spearheaded the effort for a united opposition to take on the government inside Parliament when the winter session begins on Wednesday.
When people are suffering, then political parties have to rise above their own party flags, get together. That's why Mamata Ji spoke to everybody today. So obviously all the coordinating is happening, and on the 15th, 16th, 17th, there will be this one day where all these parties meet the president.
The Congress has already given notices on the issue in both houses of Parliament.
कांग्रेस पार्टी सपोर्ट करती है जो पैसे हैं, ब्लैक मनी है, उसको खत्म करने के लिए. मेरे ख्याल में हम लोग तो 2.5 साल से पीछे लगे थे प्रधानमंत्री के कि जो ब्लैक मनी है उसको खत्म करना, लेकिन हमने लोगों को खत्म करने के लिए नहीं बताया था.
The left parties too questioned the impact of the step on the common man.
Right now the priority is that you pin down the government on the floor of the House. Till the House begins, in these 2 days, relief to the people. We are telling the government to announce that all public utilities and everywhere else, these notes will be accepted. And all white transactions will be accepted till 31st of December or maybe a few days earlier, because those organizations will have to put it in the banks till the 24th, 25th, whatever it is. So give that relief to the people immediately.
The Prime Minister admits there are difficulties for the people. This is what we have been saying, and other parties are also saying. The ordinary people, common people are subjected to unprecedented difficulties.
Parties like the SP, BSP and the Aam Aadmi Party continued with their demand for an immediate withdrawal of the move.
नरेंद्र मोदी की सरकार काला धन व भ्रष्टाचार पर अंकुश लगाने की आड़ में देश की करोड़ों आम जनता को ही खुले आसमान के नीचे लाकर खड़ा करवा देगी. इस भयावह स्थिति की कल्पना लोगों ने कभी भी नहीं की थी.
सरकार के पास कोई प्लानिंग नहीं थी इसको लागू करने की. ये सरकार की बौखलाहट और बदहवासी दिखाता है कि किस तरह से सरकार पूरी तरह से बौखला गई है और उसे समझ नहीं आ रहा है कि क्या करें. अब जिद पे अड़ी हुई है सरकार.
The BJP, on the other hand, questioned the opposition's intent on curbing black money.
काले धन पर जो चोट लगी है, उस पर जो लोग चिल्ला रहे हैं, तो इस काले धन पर चोट पर चिल्लाने वालों की नियत में है खोट.
With opposition parties united against the government's move, it will not be a smooth sailing in either house of parliament during the winter session. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, with that, we'll take a quick break here, but more news follows in a bit. Stay with us.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Welcome back. Let's get to more national news. And HRD Minister Prakash Javadekar on Monday said that the government will reintroduce Class 10th board exams for CBSE schools from the 2017-18 academic year. Javadekar announced the news after a meeting with Rajasthan Education Minister. Javadekar said that the state governments will be given authority to reintroduce Class 5 and 8th board examinations, a proposal for which will be tabled in the cabinet and then in Parliament. He further added that the main focus of the HRD ministry is on improving the quality of school education, specifically of government schools. Speaking on the increase in the number of suicides among students, HRD minister also said that the government will provide free online coaching to IIT aspirants.
गवर्नमेंट स्कूलों की गुणवत्ता में सुधार करेंगे, क्योंकि बीच में ऐसा हो गया कि गवर्नमेंट स्कूल बोगस, तो सभी लोग प्राइवेट में जाने लगे। आज देश में 13 करोड़ छात्र गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में है और 10 करोड़ छात्र प्राइवेट स्कूल में है। 5वीं और 8वीं की परीक्षा करने का चॉइस राज्यों को देने के संबंध में आवश्यक संशोधन का प्रस्ताव हमारे मंत्रालय से कैबिनेट में जाएगा और कैबिनेट के निर्णय के बाद संसद में आएगा।
Israeli President Reuven Rivlin will today hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Various MOUs are expected to be signed following the talks. Cooperation on security, agriculture and water resources is expected to figure in their talks. Ahead of the meeting with the Prime Minister, President Rivlin will be given a ceremonial reception at Rashtrapati Bhavan. He will also visit the memorial of Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat. He will also be visiting Agra, Karnal and Chandigarh during his stay. Rivlin arrived in India on Monday on an 8-day visit, and this is the first Israeli presidential visit to India in nearly 20 years since Ezer Weizman came in January 1997. Now, Pakistan on Monday summoned Indian High Commissioner Gautam Bambawale over alleged ceasefire violations by Indian troops along the LOC and the death of 7 Pakistani soldiers. Pakistan emphasized that the alleged action by Indian forces was a serious threat to the regional peace and security and may lead to a strategic miscalculation. On the other hand, Pakistani troops on Monday resorted to shelling and firing on Indian posts in 4 sectors along the line of control in Jammu, Rajouri and Poonch districts. 2 people, including a Jawan, were injured in the shelling. Pakistani troops used 82mm mortar bombs and automatic weapons on Indian positions. Authorities are evacuating people from villages along the frontier following frequent heavy firing and mortar shelling.
सर लोग पहले ही माइग्रेट थे, बड़ी मुश्किल से लोग वापस आना शुरू हो गए। फायरिंग 2-4 दिन से नहीं थी। मॉर्निंग से फिर से फायरिंग शुरू हो गई, कोई 2-3 बजे के करीब हो गया था। बड़ा ज्यादा शेलिंग हो रहा है, लोग घरों में फंसे हुए थे। तो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ने ये रेस्क्यू एक लगाई है बख्तरबंद गाड़ी, ताकि लोगों को रेस्क्यू किया जाए। यहाँ से जा रही है गाँव में से, लेकिन गाँव में शेल गिर रहे हैं, इसलिए वहां तक नहीं जा पा रही है अभी तक भी। तो हम लोग भी सहमे हुए थे। अभी थोड़ा सा फर्क पड़ा है और लोगों को ये गाड़ी वहां तक पहुंची और हम लोग वहां से निकल के यहाँ पहुंचे हैं। तो कोशिश है, लोग अभी भी देखो सैकड़ों की तादाद में लोग घरों में हैं, वहां से निकल रहे हैं, दौड़ रहे हैं। जैसे जैसे कोई ट्रांसपोर्ट का बन रहा है वैसे लोग भाग रहे हैं अभी।
Now, 2016 is going to be the hottest year on record and a new high for the 3rd year in a row. The latest report injected gloom at the UN climate summit in Marrakesh that looks to evolve a consensus on implementing the Paris climate change deal, which entered into force recently. Already there are fears that Donald Trump's presidency would end America's key involvement in the international fight against global warming and lead other nations to scale back targets to cut carbon emissions that they had agreed upon under the Paris deal.
The first 9 months of this year, we are fairly high up again, and we are breaking all the records. And it's likely that we are going to reach this year 1.2 degree warming level.
Another year, another record. The high temperatures seen in 2015 are set to be beaten in 2016. Temperatures from January to September this year were 1.2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and it would remain high enough for the rest of the year to break the previous record. Experts say the most significant factor driving temperatures up continues to be carbon dioxide emissions.
With the wrong direction, if you think of this 1.5 degree warming level, which was agreed last year in Paris.
In the backdrop of such desperate situation calling for desperate measures, The World Climate Summit is being held in Marrakech, Morocco, with close to 190 nations trying to push forward with the Paris Climate Agreement that has the goal of limiting the rise in temperatures to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial times. However, key differences remain among developing and developed nations. Moreover, the election of Donald Trump as President of the United States has triggered fears of undermining the Paris Accord. Trump had called climate change a hoax created by the Chinese. The Obama administration says it would do everything to implement a global agreement to combat climate change before Trump takes office.
The question now that this administration, are going to continue to address is how we will implement the Paris Agreement, and until January 20th, when this administration is over, we intend to do everything possible to meet our responsibility to future generations to be able to address this threat to life itself on the planet.
India says it wants a broad outline or roadmap for implementation of the Paris Agreement to be agreed during the summit. Environment Minister Anil Madhav, who is representing India at the talks, says India will push the world for adopting a low-carbon lifestyle. However, industrialized countries are consistently quibbling with developing countries on how much money they have paid and how much they should pay for the move towards a greener economy. The reluctance of rich nations to do more to reduce greenhouse gas emissions remains another big problem area. Also, the refusal of rich nations to enable cheap transfer of green technologies remains another contentious area. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you some more international news updates in World Wrap. US and Russia are looking to normalize ties, says the Kremlin. Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke by telephone with the US President-elect Donald Trump on Monday. Kremlin said that Putin wished Trump success in implementing the election program. Meanwhile, Trump, who had praised Putin in the election campaign too, said that he wanted an enduring relationship with Russia. German Chancellor Angela Merkel on Monday urged them to stand up for an open-minded country. She also warned that the US election victory of Donald Trump could inflame Germany's refugee debate. Trump has denounced Merkel's decision to allow more than 1 million migrants into Germany as insane and claimed that it had increased crime. Heavy winds and rain in South Island of New Zealand are impeding the rescue work after Monday's powerful earthquake. Dozens of helicopters are being drafted in to move people from the seaside town of Kaikoura, but the weather is threatening the airlift of hundreds of people still stranded. 2 people were killed in the 7.5 magnitude earthquake. Hundreds of aftershocks have rocked the area with major road and rail links still severed. Bangladesh on Monday announced a cash reward of $1,200 to anyone giving information on those who attacked the Hindus and their properties in Nasir Nagar area last month. On the 30th of October, a synchronized attack led to vandalizing and looting of over 100 houses and at least 17 temples over an alleged Facebook post by a Hindu youth that hurt religious sentiments. And finally, sky gazers took to high-rise buildings, tourist landmarks and beaches worldwide on Monday to catch a glimpse of the closest supermoon to Earth in almost 7 decades. A supermoon occurs when the timing of a full moon overlaps with the point in the moon's 28-day orbit that is closest to Earth. That moment in India came at 7:22 p.m. last evening. In the US, the moon was brightest on Monday morning just before dawn. The orbit of the moon around the Earth is elliptical, which makes the distance between the two objects change at times. When a full moon makes its closest approach to the Earth, it looks bigger and brighter than usual. Therefore, it's called a supermoon. The next time a full moon comes so close to Earth will be in 2034.